Obama's now in the White House, and we don't have peace. We have a surge in Afghanistan. We have an ongoing war in Iraq. We're starting a new war in Pakistan, and we're giving $3 billion to Israel to keep those wars going. So I want to revive a movement that says that we have to act differently in the world, that it's not enough to have a nice president who has good values. You got to put them into action.
And how do you think he can put it into action?
Well, we've got to stop the surge in Afghanistan immediately and instead look like in the case of Iraq, what's the exit strategy? A plan for getting out, a safe and speedy withdrawal of our troops in a way that is as safe as possible for the local people.
Did he promise you that during the campaign?
He promised that for Iraq. We're still not sure if that's going to happen in Iraq. And in the case of Afghanistan, he didn't promise it. But we thought, all right, once he gets into power, then it's up to us to pressure him to change that policy. And that's what we're doing. I mean, this is really what he said. He said, I need to hear from the people. We feel like it's our job to make him be the best president he could be. We don't want history to look back and say Barack Obama's quagmire was Afghanistan and it ruined his entire presidency. We want him to have a good presidency. We want him to really have a legacy that's about making this country and this world better, and it's up to us to force him, because Afghanistan's a quagmire. Pakistan be a huge disaster, and there are no military solutions to those conflicts.
Do you have any indication that you're being heard today?
I don't think we're being heard in the way that we want to be heard. We'd like all the mainstream media to be out here, to be broadcasting this message. I mean, it was so beautiful to be in front of the White House with these women and this incredible banner that says, I will not raise another of my children to kill another mother's child, with all the roses, singing Happy Mother's Day to Michelle. I mean, it was lovely. And that should be in the media. And if it were in the media, I think people all over the country would see it, and the Obamas would have felt our presence more. So that's unfortunate. But I think in another sense that they need to feel that there is still a peace movement, and it's up to us to revive that peace movement, because I know a lot of my friends who were active under Bush say, oh, Obama's going to fix this. I want to give him time. And that's a hard thing to counter, because it's hard to be in this movement, get yourself up every day and to be, struggling and going to marches and doing things like this. It's a lot easier to say, okay, I'm going to leave this to Obama. But we can't do that.
What do you say to those women that are actually urging the Obama administration to stay in Afghanistan? They don't want, ongoing oppression of militants and the mullahs and so on continuing to oppress them, that they have some liberties at the moment, and that will disappear if the American troops leave?
I say that we know that the more troops, the more the Taliban gets reinforcements, that Al-Qaeda gets reinforcements, that this is just a vicious cycle. And especially in a place like Afghanistan, where history has shown that they hate outsiders, and that more and more people become enemies of the United States just by the very fact that we're there. And that's dangerous for us. So we've got to, at some point, break that cycle of violence. Now, I think that there are alternatives, that maybe there needs to be UN peacekeeping forces in Afghanistan. But we won't get to that point until the U.S. says, okay, we're going to pull out at the end of 2009, the end of 2010, whatever it is, like in the case of Iraq, we set a date that we're going to withdraw. And then we force the discussion about negotiations, about power sharing, about women's rights, about women's schools being protected, about UN peacekeepers being there to protect women's schools. I would love to see there be UN peacekeepers that made sure that women had the right to go to school. That's not happening now. Women have tremendous security, and there's millions of girls who are not going to school because of the lack of security. So there are alternatives, but we'll never get to those alternatives as long as we're stuck in this quagmire of majority U.S. troops, smaller number of NATO troops, but the U.S. really being the #1 occupier of Afghanistan.
So, Medea, if the peace movement and Codepink had one loud message for President Obama, what is it?
Bring the troops home. You know that the war is not the answer, that violence creates more violence, that you were brought in to be a change maker. Be the change that we want to see. Push diplomacy, negotiations, UN peacekeepers, alternatives to U.S. intervention. There is a better way.